All right, so are you ready to dive into something kind of unexpected?
Always.
Okay, good, because we're talking film photography.
All right.
And no, we're not talking about, those dusty old cameras in the attic, right?
Right.
We are talking about a real, like, full-blown comeback.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
People from all walks of life are rediscovering film, like seasoned pros, Gen Z, even folks who've never even held a film camera before.
It's true.
You sent over a ton of material for this, deep dive articles, portfolios, even a whole YouTube tutorial. Looks like you've been doing your homework.
Well, I had to do my research, right? It's a fascinating topic.
So what's the mission here? What are we trying to uncover in this deep dive?
Well, I think the big question is WHY. Why is film photography making such a strong comeback in our digital world?
Right, because you'd think in the age of smartphones and instant everything film would be, well, a relic of the past?
You would think so, wouldn't you? But there's
This?
something about film that's capturing people's imaginations, maybe even their hearts.
Okay, so let's get into it. Why are people ditching their fancy digital cameras for something that feels, well, a little old school?
You know, one of the articles you sent, The Appeal of Analog Photography in a Digital Age, had a really interesting take on this.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Well, they argue that it's all about the aesthetic. Film just had this unique look and feel that digital can't replicate no matter how hard it tries.
But even with all the filters and editing software,
Even then, there's something about the grain, the softness, the way film captures light that just hits different.
I see what you mean. It's like the difference between a perfectly posed Instagram photo and a candid snapshot that captures a real, raw emotion.
Exactly. It's about embracing the imperfections, the quirks that make a photo feel more human, more authentic.
And that seems to be a recurring theme in a lot of the material you send, this idea of authenticity, this desire for something real in a world that feels increasingly artificial.
Absolutely. And speaking of authenticity, one of the photographers you mentioned, Clyde Butcher, his large format black and white land
Oh,
scale,
yeah, his work is incredible.
breathtaking, right? There's this timeless, almost monumental quality to his photos, especially the ones of the Florida Everglades.
I know what you mean. It's like he's capturing the soul of a place.
And the process itself, using those massive cameras and sheets of film, it requires a level of precision and patience that's almost meditative.
It's like slowing down time, capturing the essence of a place in a way that digital just can't replicate.
I think you've hit the nail on the head, Bear. It's about slowing down, appreciating the process, and connecting with your subject on a deeper level.
Okay, so we've got this analog renaissance happening. People are drawn to the unique aesthetic, the authenticity, the slower, more intentional process. But there's got to be more to it, right? Why else are people choosing film in the age of digital convenience?
Well, I feel part of it is a reaction against the digital overload we're all experiencing.
Oh, absolutely. Our lives are saturated with digital images. It's like a constant stream of visual noise.
Exactly. And film offers a way to step outside of that stream to create something tangible, something that exists in the physical world, not just on a screen.
It's like saying, hey, I'm going to slow down, savor the process, and create something real.
And in a world where everything is so instant, so disposable, that act of creation, that sense of tangibility is incredibly appealing.
And there's also this element of surprise, right? You don't know exactly what you've captured until you get the film developed.
That's a big part of the appeal. It's like opening a present, you never know what you're going to get.
It will adventure a discovery.
Exactly. And that sense of anticipation, that delayed gratification, it's something we've lost in the digital age.
I think you're right. We're so used to instant everything that the idea of waiting for something can actually be quite refreshing.
Like rediscovering the joy of anticipation.
And, speaking of joy, there's something just so satisfying about the tactile experience of film photography.
Oh, absolutely. Loading the film, advancing the lever, hearing that satisfying click, it's all part of the charm.
It's like you're connecting with a craft, a history, a different way of being in the world.
And speaking of connecting with history, many film photographers are drawn to vintage cameras.
Oh, yeah. Those old cameras have so much character, so much personality.
They do, and they're often built to last. You can find cameras from the 70s or even earlier that are still working perfectly.
And they often have this beautiful aesthetic
Yeah,
and a sense of craftsmanship that you just don't find in modern cameras.
I feel like they were made with love and care. You can feel the history in your hands.
And that connection to history, that sense of craftsmanship, it adds another layer of meaning to the experience of shooting film.
I think so too. It's like you're becoming part of a lineage, a tradition that stretches back generations.
You mentioned Alessandro Michelozzi earlier. His work is a great example of how film can capture certain qualities of light and color that digital just can't replicate.
Oh, his landscapes are incredible,
Yeah.
especially the ones he shoots on slide film.
Yeah, he's a big fan of Fujifilm Velvia, right?
Yeah, because it captures these vibrant, rich colors that digital sensors just can't match.
I've seen some of his photos. The colors are unreal. It's like looking through a window into a dream world.
And he's not alone. There are a lot of photographers who are drawn to slide film for its unique color palette and its ability to capture a certain mood and atmosphere.
Okay, so we've talked about the aesthetic, the process, the tactile experience, the connection to history. But let's get practical for a moment.
Yeah.
If someone's listening to this and thinking, okay, I'm intrigued, I want to try film photography, where do they even begin?
Well, that's a great question. And luckily, there are tons of resources out there for beginners also.
So we've got to reinvent the wheel here.
Not at all. One of the articles you sent Amateur Photographer has a fantastic guide for getting started with film photography.
Okay, so let's talk cameras.
Mm.
What are some good options for beginners who don't want to break the bank?
They recommend a few classic cameras like the Pentax K1000, the Canon AE1, and the Nikon FM10.
Okay, I've heard of those.
Yeah.
They're all manual cameras, right?
That's right. But don't let that scare you. They're actually very easy to use, and they're built like tanks.
So they can withstand a few drops and bumps.
You bet. And they're often cheaper than even entry-level DSLRs.
That's a plus. And you learn the fundamentals of photography by using a manual camera.
Exactly. You have to understand aperture, shutter speed, ISO. You're in control of every setting.
So it's like a photography boot camp.
In a way, yeah. No.
Yeah.
You develop a much deeper understanding of how cameras work.
I like that. So you're not just pressing a button, you're actually creating the image.
And that's a really empowering feeling.
Okay, so we've got the camera sorted.
Mhm.
Now what about the film itself? There are so many different types out there, black and white, color slide film. How do you even choose?
It can be overwhelming for sure, but
I don't-
don't worry, we've got you covered.
All right, lay on me.
For black and white, they recommend Ilford, HP5 Plus, and Kodak Tri-X.
Okay, those are classics.
They're both versatile, known for their sharp detail and beautiful tonal range.
Should it for beginners then?
Absolutely. And for color film, Kodak Portra 400 is a popular choice.
I've heard good things about Portra.
It's known for its natural colors, flattering skin tones, and ability to handle a variety of lighting conditions.
Sounds like a good all-rounder.
It is. But ultimately, the best way to find what you love is to experiment. Try different films, different cameras, see what speaks to you.
So basically, embrace the adventure.
Exactly. And speaking of adventure, that YouTube video you sent, 21 film photography hacks and tips, is packed with fun and practical advice.
Oh, yeah, Max Kent, he's hilarious. He's got this infectious energy and a knack for making even the most technical stuff super approachable.
I know, right? He's like the cool older brother of film photography.
Okay, so what are some of his top tips for taking better film photos?
Well, one of his biggies is to overexpose your film by half or one stop.
Overexpose. But won't that make the photos too bright?
It might seem counterintuitive, but film has a narrower dynamic range than digital, so overexposing slightly helps retain detail in the shadows.
I see, so you're basically giving the film a little boost to capture more of the scene's dynamic range.
Exactly. It's one of those tricks that can really make a difference in your photos.
Okay, I'm taking notes. Any other gems of wisdom for Max?
He also emphasizes the importance of having a subject in your photos, especially for street photography.
Like a person, an animal, an object? Something that draws the eye and gives the photo a focal point?
Exactly. It's about adding a story element, something that makes the viewer stop and wonder what's happening here.
So it's not just about capturing a scene, it's about capturing a moment, a feeling, a story.
And that's what makes photography so powerful. It allows us to connect with the world around us on a deeper level.
And that's something that film photography, with its slower, more intentional process, really encourages us to do.
I think that's a perfect way to sum it up.
So as we've been exploring all these different aspects of film photography, from the aesthetics to the process to the tactile experience, it's becoming clear that there's something really special happening here.
Absolutely. It's not just a trend. It's a movement, a rediscovery of something that's been lost in the digital age.
It's about slowing down, embracing imperfection, and connecting with the world around us in a more mindful and meaningful way.
And I think that's something we can all appreciate regardless of whether we shoot film or digital.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but we're just getting started.
We've only scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore in the world of film photography.
Well, then let's dive back in.
I'm ready when you are. You know, thinking about all those iconic images captured on film,
Yeah.
it makes you realize the impact film photography has had on our visual culture, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Ansel Adams, Henri Cartier-Bresson, Vivian Mayer.
Exactly. Those photographers shaped the way we see the world.
And their work continues to inspire photographers today, even those working in the digital realm.
It's like film photography is this wellspring of creativity that never runs dry.
Totally. And speaking of inspiration, I think it's important to highlight the role of community in film photography.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just a solitary pursuit.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole network of film enthusiasts out there eager to share their knowledge and passion.
Exactly. Joining a film photography club or online forum can be a game changer, especially for beginners.
It's like having a mentor right at your fingertips.
Right. You can get advice on everything from choosing the right camera to developing your own film.
It's not just about technical stuff either.
I don't know. Way. It's about finding your style, connecting with other photographers, getting inspired by their work.
It's like a support system, a tribe of people who get it.
Exactly. And that sense of community can be so valuable, especially when you're first starting out.
Because let's be real, film photography can be intimidating at first.
It can. There are so many variables, so many things to learn.
That's also part of the beauty of it, right?
Absolutely. It's a journey, a process of discovery.
And there's always something new to learn.
Always. And that's what keeps it so exciting.
Okay, so let's talk about something practical, developing and scanning.
All right, let's get down to business.
Once you shot a roll of film, what happens next?
Well, you can't just plug it into your computer like a memory card.
Huh. I wish it were that easy.
Right. You need to get those images off the film and into a digital format.
How do you do that?
Well, there are still plenty of labs that offer film developing and scanning services.
That's good to know. I was picturing myself setting up a darkroom in my basement.
You could, but for most people, sending their film to a lab is the easiest option.
So do you just drop it off at a local camera shop or mail it in?
Both. There are lots of options available.
And what about scanning? Can you do that at home?
You too. The smartphone scanning adapters are a quick and affordable option.
Okay.
But the quality might not be as good as a dedicated film scanner.
I see. So if you want high quality scans, you need to invest in a scanner.
Or find a good lab that offers high quality scanning services.
Got it. So it's all that finding the right balance between convenience, quality, and cost.
Exactly. And speaking of cost, that's a common concern for people who are considering film photography.
Yeah, it's definitely not as cheap as digital.
That's true. But there are ways to keep costs down.
Like what?
Well, black and white film tends to be cheaper than color.
Okay.
And learning to develop your own film at home can save you a lot of money.
But that sounds kind of complicated.
It can be, but there are tons of resources available online and in books.
So it's doable for a beginner.
Absolutely. And it's a really rewarding experience.
I can imagine. There's something magical about seeing your images emerge in the developer.
It's like alchemy. You're transforming chemicals and light into works of art.
And that hands-on approach, that connection to the process, is something you just don't get with digital photography.
That's what makes it so special. It's a more mindful, more intentional way of creating images.
And it's not just about developing at home either, right?
No, there are tons of other creative possibilities with film photography.
Like what?
Well, we haven't even touched on alternative processes like cyanotype and platinum printing.
Oh, those sound intriguing. Tell me more.
Well, cyanotype creates these beautiful blue-toned prints using sunlight and iron salts.
Wow, that sounds incredible.
It is. It's a very hands-on process, and the results are incredibly unique.
So it's like a blend of art and science.
Exactly. And platinum printing is another fascinating process. It creates incredibly detailed archival prints.
Archival, so they last a long time.
Yes. They're known for their permanence and their beautiful tonal range.
It's amazing how film photography opens up this whole world of creative possibilities.
It really does. It's about pushing boundaries, experimenting, and rediscovering the magic of analog image making.
And it's not just about the technical side of things either, right?
No, it's about the community, the shared passion, the support you get from other film enthusiasts.
Right. We
was
talked about that earlier, the importance of connecting with other photographers.
Exactly. And Mammography, this global community that celebrates film photography.
And I've heard of them.
Well, they have a great article on their website about the importance of analog culture and community.
What do they say?
They talk about how joining a film photography club or online forum can provide a sense of belonging.
Makes sense.
Right. It's a place to connect with like-minded people, share your work, get feedback, learn from each other.
It's like a family, a tribe of film geeks.
Exactly. And they mentioned a few specific examples of communities like the Boston Camera Club.
Oh, that was been around since 1881.
I know. It's amazing to see how these groups are keeping the tradition of film photography alive.
It's a testament to the enduring power of this art form.
I think so too. And it's inspiring to see how these communities are welcoming new members and sharing the passion with the next generation.
So it's not just about preserving the past, it's about shaping the future of film photography.
That's a great way to put it. And that future looks bright, with so many people rediscovering the beauty and the magic of film.
I couldn't agree more. And it's not just about nostalgia, it's about a genuine appreciation for the unique qualities that film offers.
Exactly. It's a different way of seeing the world, a different way of creating images.
And it's a reminder that sometimes the best things in life are worth slowing down for.
You know, it's funny, as we've been talking about all this, thinking about how film photography is almost like a form of meditation.
I can see that. You have to be so present, so in the moment when you're shooting film.
Exactly. There's no room for distraction, no checking your phone, no multitasking. You have to slow down, focus, and really see what's in front of you.
It's like a mindfulness practice, but with a camera.
I like that. A mindfulness practice with a camera. And that's something we could all use a little more of in our busy lives.
Especially now, right?
And
It is so easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle, to be constantly bombarded with information and stimulation.
Exactly. Film photography offers a way to disconnect from all that, to tune out the noise, and turn into something more essential, more grounded.
It's like hitting the reset button for your senses.
And for your soul. There's something so calming, so restorative about the process of shooting film. It's almost therapeutic.
I can see that. It forces you to slow down, to pay attention to the details, to appreciate the beauty in the simple things.
And there's a real sense of accomplishment that comes with creating something tangible, something that exists in the physical world.
All right, it's not just a digital file that gets lost in the cloud. It's a physical print, a negative, a piece of history that you can hold in your hands.
And that sense of tangibility, that connection to the physical world, I think that's what's drawing so many people back to film photography.
It's like a counterbalance to the digital overload we're all experiencing, a way to ground ourselves, to reconnect with something real.
Exactly. And, you know, speaking of real, I think one of the biggest misconceptions about film photography is that it's only for professionals or serious hobbyists.
Well, I can see that. It can seem kind of intimidating from the outside.
It can, but the truth is anyone can shoot film. You don't need a fancy camera or a lot of technical knowledge to get started.
Really? So what's the most important thing for a beginner to know?
Just start shooting. Experiment, play around, have fun. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how you learn.
So embrace the process.
Exactly. And don't worry too much about getting everything perfect. The beauty of film is that it's often the imperfection of the happy accidents that create the most interesting images.
That's a good point. It's about letting go of control, embracing the unexpected.
And trusting the process. Film has a way of surprising you. It can reveal things you didn't even see when you were taking the photo.
It's like a collaboration between you, the camera, and the film itself.
I love that, a collaboration. And that's what makes the film magical. You're not just capturing a scene, you're creating something new, something unique.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of film photography, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this conversation?
I hope you feel inspired to give film photography a try, to slow down, to disconnect from the digital world, and to reconnect with the magic of analog image making.
And to remember that it's not about perfection, it's about the journey, the process of discovery.
Exactly. It's about embracing the unexpected, finding beauty in the imperfections, and creating something meaningful with your own hands.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this analog adventure. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the world of film photography with us.
It's been a pleasure, and remember, keep those shitters clicking and embrace the beauty of slowness.